people? Devil's advocate here. So this is a impromptu video. Somebody made a comment about something and it kind of sparked a thought process in my head about a topic that I have some direct experience in. And I feel like it was important for me to share it. So, and the reason I'm even making this video is because I think that sometimes people that don't have any firsthand experience in the situation have a really hard time empathizing with it or really comprehending the scenario. But since I do have firsthand experience and anecdotal evidence, I think I can speak to it. And the topic is about incarceration. So if you look at the Bureau of Statistics, as far as men are concerned, the population in state penitentiaries is about even across the board. It's like equal parts white, equal parts black, and equal parts everything else. But with that said, now if it's equal parts and then you try to convert that to the representation of black Americans as a general populace out in the community, then you can see the huge disparity. That even though they only make up a small percentage of the population as a whole, they're 1/3 of the population in the state penitentiaries. So there is an imbalance of black American inmates in the state penitentiary, state and federal penitentiaries, and their sentencing seems to be harsher. It is harsher. So I heard people say that this is another race thing. This is a racial driven thing. Now, is it a possibility that there is an asshole prejudiced judge out there and he just throws the book at, minorities? Possibly. But from what I've seen in my own personal experience, like with my own two eyes sitting there in court, it's a sad situation. It's more of a lack of resources that contribute to that imbalance. It's a social economic issue. So, and what I mean by that is it all translates over. So if the black community has, or the minority community has a higher percentage of people that are financially struggling, right? And let's say they do commit a crime, or they've been charged with a crime, and they have to go defend themselves in court. They have to go to court. What happens? You're entitled to representation, but what happens when you don't have the money to buy yourself a good lawyer? You get a state-appointed attorney. If anybody has had a state-appointed attorney for anything, you know that they are garbage. They're not good for anything. You almost have a better chance of just representing yourself in court. So, and then you have to, cross-reference that with maybe if there is a white person in the same situation that they might have access there, or let's just put it this way, they have a higher likelihood of having access to more resources to have some better representation in court, which generally translates to either A, they walk, or B, a lighter sentence. And that's literally, it's that simple. It really is that simple. If you don't have adequate representation in court when you are trying to defend yourself against a charge, you are in bad shape. You are at the mercy of that court. And that is why it's so imperative to try to get yourself a good lawyer if you're in some hot water. And unfortunately, for a lot of these black guys, they don't have the money to afford a good attorney. So they get a state-appointed attorney. And you know what those state-appointed attorneys do? They are paid by the city or by the state. So they don't have the motivation to invest themselves to the degree where they want to go in there and represent you to the point where they want to get you, clear your name. Typically speaking, when I went in there, the first thing that they're trying to do is say, hey, you need to go ahead and just plea bargain to this deal right here. This is a good deal. You should just go ahead and take it. They're not even entertaining the conversation of, what kind of case they can build to try to plead your innocence. They go right into the conversations of what kind of deal you need to take to just try to, plea out and make your sentence as light as possible. So I think that's important because I don't think a lot of people understand that, because most people, and good, have no involvement with the legal system to that extent where they actually have to, communicate and exchange with, defense attorneys and, criminal lawyers and stuff like that. But yeah, that's mainly what it is. It's not a race thing. It's a resource thing. So, and I can understand, it's like, why does that, this white guy did X, Y, and Z, and he only got this sentence. It's unfair. And then you got, this black guy, he didn't even do it. Well, he did this crime, but the punishment didn't fit the crime. And could it be partially race-driven? Sure. I'm not even going to say, oh, no, it's not. But what I'm going to tell you is that what is a much larger factor is the man or woman that guy or gal has standing, we'll say we're talking about men, so that man has standing in their corner to defend him in court. If you got a good-ass lawyer, I've had good-ass lawyers. Good-ass lawyers will build a case and make you seem like you walk on water. And that's what they're supposed to do. And they cost a lot of money. A lot of people don't have that kind of money. So they just got to take it on the chin and they just do that time. And if you ain't got a guy in the corner negotiating with the prosecution and the judge, you looking at anything as far as time behind bars. You gotta remember, at the end of the day, state penitentiaries, a lot of those are privately owned. They're money-making machines. And they try to keep those things at capacity. So, and if the jail is a business and they're trying to keep it at capacity, then you have to have somebody that is going to try really hard to make sure that you don't end up in that machine. And that machine, that money-making machine, it doesn't care what color you are. It's just the only difference is whether or not you have a superhero that's going to keep you from falling into the grinder. That's it. I don't want to make this a long video, but I just wanted to put that out there because I know there's a lot of people out there that think this is like a completely race thing, and it's a resource thing. It really is a resource thing. I've seen it with my own two eyes countless times. And I'll give I'm gonna make this last point and I'm gonna stop. It's a good example. It's a really good example. The most recent one I saw, it's the last one I saw. I was in court and I was waiting my turn, and I had to watch other people go up. And this was, I'm not gonna say where this was. This was in a Commonwealth. So this individual, he was a white guy. He's a white guy. And he was standing before the judge for stealing a blender from Walmart. He got caught. Went to jail. And my heart sank when I heard what that judge did to that man. That was his third time being in the jail. His third time getting arrested and going to jail for theft. And they were reading out, the judge was kind of reading over what he had been charged with in the past. He had a history of petty theft. nothing crazy. No armed robbery, no assault. It was just really, it was all theft. Most of it less than $500. But this was the third time that he had gotten caught with a sum of stolen goods that amounted and accumulated to greater than $500. And the reason I throw blender in there was because the blender was the thing that stuck out to me, and I remember that was in the things that he had stolen. I just remember the blender, and I'm like, why would somebody steal a blender? But anyways, that man got sentenced to 10 years in the state penitentiary without the possibility of parole. That man didn't hurt anybody. When I heard that he was going to do 10 hard years in the state penitentiary for petty theft or for, or stealing, and he never hurt anybody, he just took stuff, like, I got a sinking feeling. Like, I felt so bad for that man. I was like, that is absolutely horrible. And that was because he had nobody to stand up for him in court. He had a public defense attorney who didn't show up that day. And then the inmate decided that he was just going to go through with it anyways. And that's, like I said, it happens to everybody. That was a white man with a public defender. And that guy got 10 cold, hard years in the state penitentiary for a non-violent offense. So, that's my personal experience with it. So, just keep in mind, it's not always a race thing. You can't always point to race. And that's all I have to say about that.